I insisted we buy my family's house instead of starting from scratch. My boyfriend Nathan and I had been looking for our first place together for months. Every weekend we'd drive around looking at these cookie-cutter new builds that all looked the same. Beige walls, tiny yards, overpriced as hell. Nathan kept pushing for them because he said he wanted our own space and didn't want to deal with old house problems. But then my grandma passed away last spring, and my family had to figure out what to do with her house. It's this solid brick place from the 1940s with actual character. Hardwood floors, a huge front porch, and this amazing kitchen with vintage tile that you literally can't find anymore. The house sits on almost an acre with mature oak trees and a garden my grandma spent 40 years perfecting. My parents were talking about selling it to some random buyer, and I couldn't stand the thought of strangers living there. So I told Nathan we should buy it instead. The price was fair, actually way below market because we were keeping it in the family. It needed some work, sure, but nothing major. New paint, updated bathroom, maybe refinish the floors. Nathan immediately started complaining. It's going to be a money pit, he said. Your whole family will probably just show up whenever they want. He kept bringing up how his coworker bought an old house and ended up spending 20 grand on the roof. I tried explaining that this house had good bones. My uncle's a contractor and he'd already looked it over. Roof was solid, foundation was perfect, plumbing and electrical had been updated in the 2000s. Plus my dad said he'd help us with any repairs that came up. But Nathan wouldn't budge. He started showing me listings for these sterile new townhouses 40 minutes away from both our jobs. Look, granite countertops and stainless steel appliances, he'd say. Like that mattered more than the fact that the walls were so thin you could hear your neighbor's TV. The breaking point came when we went to look at my grandma's house together. I was pointing out all the cool details, the original crown molding, the built-in bookshelves, the way the afternoon light hits the living room. Nathan just stood there with his arms crossed, pointing out every tiny flaw. This wallpaper is hideous. Those windows are probably not energy efficient. Is that a water stain on the ceiling? Then he said something that made my blood boil. I don't want to live in a dead person's house. It's creepy. I lost it. This wasn't just any dead person. This was my grandma who taught me to bake, who let me help in her garden every summer, who always had chocolate chip cookies waiting when I came over. The house wasn't creepy. It was full of love and memories. We had a huge fight in the driveway. Nathan said I was being emotional and not thinking practically. I said he was being disrespectful and couldn't see past his own weird hang-ups. He stormed off and didn't talk to me 3 days. During those 3 days, I did a lot of thinking. I realized this wasn't really about the house. It was about our values. I valued family, history, and the idea of being rooted somewhere meaningful. Nathan valued new and shiny things that looked good on Instagram but had no soul. When he finally called, he said he'd been thinking too, and maybe we could compromise. We could buy the house but completely gut and renovate it to make it ours. I almost laughed. That would cost twice as much as buying new, and it would destroy everything that made the house special. That's when I knew we weren't going to work out. If he couldn't understand why I wanted to preserve my grandma's kitchen where she taught 3 generations of women to cook, or why I wanted to keep the porch where my grandpa used to sit and wave at neighbors, then he didn't really understand me. I told Nathan I was buying the house with or without him. He said that was crazy, that I couldn't afford it on my own, that I was making a huge mistake. But I'd already talked to the bank, and with my stable job and the family discount, I could make it work. 2 months later, I moved into my grandma's house alone. I kept most of her furniture because it was beautiful, solid wood pieces that would cost a fortune to replace. I painted the walls warm colors that complemented the original character instead of fighting against it. I learned to tend her garden and actually got better tomatoes than she ever did, which I like to think would make her proud. Nathan moved into one of those bland townhouses with his new girlfriend. Last I heard, they were dealing with foundation issues because the builder cut corners. Meanwhile, my 80-year-old house is solid as a rock.